Now, okay, one of the things in the class, they were dealing with gesture. Gesture now is the most critical part of the whole thing. It's really the beginning. And it's the element that actually is the thing that you want to take and end up with. This is really like the...
So we're moving in this way. Now, the next figure. Foot, the hand is right here. Foot is coming down. The shape of that coming through here. Going back.
In other words, a combination, I'm saying, this, first of all, this is why you work from drawing from imagination. As a painter, I rarely painted from the model. I was painting large figurative compositions, doing everything. Creating lines using the drapery. So I'm going to create a fanning effect so that we could actually get a sense of movement rather than having the drapery just falling straight down. Through. And then it's going back in. So I'm feeling the flow coming through. Feel the pull across the buttocks, pulling through into the thigh.
Just drawing this shape of this leg now. Got this line moving. We've got this strong light. It actually comes through from here, pulling through here. Foot comes from behind. It's going up. The next.
You have to feel it. A lot of times, I remember having, when I was a student, an instructor would say, well, you got the pose wrong. Stand up and take the pose. Take the pose yourself. So I'm pulling through, coming down, through. Going across the legs, going through, going in. Feeling pulling, notice I'm going over the surface of that leg. So and I would even maybe create a few folds to help that movement going across. Then we come down and we start to work over the surface, going down fast and look fluid because that's what the subject is. Now in the next drawing, again we have a strong profile. So I'm working with this now. I'm thinking of the... He actually sees the drawing or painting. Let's start and go through the whole thing. Now, if we take, for instance, if I was doing a mural, all of the compositional sketches, everything was done from imagination. They designed it first, and then they would take and start elaborating on the thing. And that's really, and you go, I teach a lot, dark pattern going, but what's the overall look of the thing? Reminds me of, I don't know if you're familiar with Alphonse Mucha. He did these great big paintings. He was one of really the main guy in Art Nouveau. But he did a lot of really big historical paintings. I mean, we're talking 40, 50 feet with tons and tons of figures, very realistic. Jumping to the inside of the leg, coming through, down to the foot. Now, here we have him turning, he's going away. I want to feel the pull going in a direction.
And it's going back here. Now, if we take all of the lines and we start working with this, because he's beginning with, we get the frame, dealing with very, very simple lines coming across the bottom.
Horizontal. diagonal. In other words, I would look to see if we got the arm coming out in here. I would be looking to see how does that relate to that. So these are the basic freedom to experience this whole thing. That's the hard part. In other words, I could take and be doing this by coming through and doing something like this, even working with this. Feeling coming
on the model that are taking and doing that. Now this forearm is going away pretty fast, so I'm taking, instead of necessarily lines going through the form, I'm taking and working right away around the form to get it.
You start to describe that movement in space. Two very simple things. That's all we're dealing with. Now, as you're doing this, ideas, concepts of movement and transition and flow within the picture. Okay, what I was dealing with here. Now, the idea of movement, flow, through,
There's nothing complicated about it. The main ingredient is, though, that you actually have to feel the movement. You have to feel the difference in the kind of movement that you create. See, the big point here now is that when you're drawing this, there's actually a physical jump that takes place. In other words, you're going for this. We need to take and describe what we're doing three-dimensionally. You've got to type in and look at this as a three-dimensional forms in space. Now, that takes and comes down to now is a it's actually a simple idea.
Made that next step by trying to indicate simple volumes, how we start to fit one volume fitting into another. Okay. So the form, as it pulls and goes back in, the arm is raised and going back. So I would take and actually push over the surface.
it's really curling over. But you notice that all of these lines now are continually creating the same movement going through. Now, as he's doing this, of course, he's got the stuff going up against the space, and he's providing the picture pretty much right down the center. He's also taking, you can see there's nothing really going out. He's coming across, he's repeating the frame, horizontals, and he basically builds things up. See the figure? Now, as he's taking and laying down here, now, the line that's created in the back here is taking and dropping with this. So you can see that this basic line that is pulling
Parts actually take and relate to each other. How an arm would go up, go across. So you're taking and continually feeling how the figure goes
into that. So everything is taken in control in here now. Now, this leg, the shape now is taking and pulling right into the leg right behind it, another figure.
It's a movement within it because what I'm doing is the line, each line is literally jumping to the next line and going through the figure. So I'm leading you through the figure by the
Coming across, down to the foot. Okay, here the pelvis is actually up high. I want to feel the pull through in here, coming down to take and go over the surface and to follow through to take and feel the pull of the drapery, then going over the leg,
through. Yeah. Through. Now see, that's accomplishing the same thing. So I'm getting this action. So like I say, there's no